In episode number 233, we cover Nickelodeon's TMNT reboot. Can it top their last one? I'm up in the air about that.
We also have Marvel's GeoTargeting marketing plan, in which it tries to get new readers over to local comic book shops.
We also have our full spoiler review of Logan, Hugh Jackman's last Wolverine movie, until they put some more zeros on that paycheck.
Our comic book review this week is Batman number 18 with I Am Bane Part 3.
All of this and much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Kelli.
And I'm Daniel.
And for those of you joining us for the very first time, the way we format our show is first we start out with some news, covering all those things I just mentioned and more, and we follow up with a comic book highlight of the week, and especially this week, a movie review.
That's right, we'll keep the Logan review at the very end of the podcast since it will be full of spoilers, so in case you haven't seen it, you can still enjoy the rest of the show and have the review be at the very end of the podcast. But in case you missed it, Brokeheads, before we jump into the hashtag games and the rest of the news, Kelli and I are proud to announce that there will be a new addition to the Brokehead family.
Yes, a new reason to make us broke.
The biggest reason?
The biggest reason we will ever be broke. Yes, so in October, we are expecting our first child.
I am not giving up my comics. I'm just letting you know.
Didn't ask you to.
And every time, you have been dying to tell everyone, of course, that you're pregnant.
All the people, of course.
And I know it's been a rough road so far for you. There's been some sickness.
Yes.
There's been lots of sleepy time.
There's so much exhaustion.
It is sucking up the life out of you. Like
I'm
just
cold
this little
all
strawberry.
the time. I'm cold all the time because it's sucking all my blood to this little... What did you call it the first day? This parasite?
And then it went from parasite to symbiote.
Yes.
To embor. It's an embor now, but before that it was a zygarde.
It was a zygote, and now it's an embryo. Calm down.
Well, zygarde and embor is way better.
Stop picking lame Pokemon.
And the whole time when you have been sick or complaining, I've been reminding you, you wanted this. This is what you wanted.
It is, but pregnancy is not easy. Gentlemen out there, if you are ever with a woman who is pregnant, be as amazing as Daniel. He does remind me that I wanted this, but then he lets me nap and he goes and gets me snacks and he rubs my belly or my back when I'm sick. And
I say hello to the little embor.
Yes, say hello every day. It can hear you in there, you know. I mean,
not
like
yet. It
not
doesn't
yet.
have fucking ears.
But it will soon-ish.
See, to me, it's not. And I know it's a common thing with a lot of men when they have children. It's not real until, I guess, it's born, is what they say. And that's sort of the case for me, because I'm just like, okay, well, it's still a developing thing, you know? It's not already like, hey, how's it going, guys? Yeah, I'm just growing right now, and I know what you guys are doing and saying. Like, it's not like that.
Mom, you cuss a lot. Calm down.
And I've been joking, like... I'm trolling you even though you know I'm joking with you, and what we're talking about, like, okay, well, potty training, and I'll be like, well, just fucking use the toilet, baby. God damn. Get out of diapers. That's disgusting. You're like, no, you have to change it, as if I'm really going to be lecturing this baby.
You will.
Quit crying. You got to settle down. You can't just be crying
You're
going to
say that to our kid, please. Don't even pretend you're not going to. I know you.
I'm going to try to reason with it, knowing that it is not for that life. It's pain is existing and being hungry all the time and being uncomfortable and growing like, fuck, the only communication I know is crying, you asshole. Quit trying to reason with me. Quiet, baby. Just keep growing. God, grow faster.
That's so mean. Our poor baby. See, and I'm good for you for not being real, because for me, it is just every time. So for a long time, nobody I worked with knew. And so I came to work every day, pretty sick, exhausted beyond belief, and people, how you feeling today, Kelli? I'm great. Thanks. A little tired. My dog was barking all night. I used that excuse for like 3 weeks.
It does bark at night, though.
It
sometimes.
does, but that is not why I need 12 hours of sleep a day.
I told my managers, they were the very first people I told, but only for the not because like they need to know first because I like them the best. No, it's that I needed to know what the time off would be like when that time showed up. And that's something you specifically wanted to know, what maternity leave was where I work, because there's no actual program, I guess, set up to handle that kind of thing. So yeah, I got that settled down. The owner is great. He was like, oh yeah, we'll figure something out. Not a problem. So yeah, they were the first two, and they kept it a secret, thankfully, and we told the world, and everyone was surprised. Like, well, how long have you known? Why didn't you tell me? This is so exciting. And lots of superhero pictures, which are awesome. People know us.
People asking, like, are you going to name it Bruce Wayne? I don't know yet.
We have considered it, though, they're not
but
far off.
But, I mean, there's other cool superhero names where it won't really get made fun of. Like
too much.
Bruce Wayne.
So thank you so much for the congratulations out there on Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, Twitter. That really means a lot to Kelli and I, and we are very excited for this challenge, this 18-plus-year-old challenge that is ahead of us.
Listen, it is now 19-plus years for me, because I got to carry the thing for pretty much a year.
That's right, and I gotta help raise a person and the baby as well while you're pregnant, because that's another thing that we've been doing. I don't know how it's going to affect the podcast, so that's giving you guys a heads up now. I know while, for example, when I go out of town, we do like an episode ahead of time where we have a guest person on, and we're going to do that again next month. But the amount of pregnancy time off, I guess, that you have, I don't know, like you'll be out of commission for a good month at least, right?
At least. So I get 12 weeks off of work. That's standard maternity leave. But that doesn't mean that I'll be necessarily out of commission that whole time. I will say probably I'll need to bow out before the baby comes. And this is all speculation. We don't know how it's going to go. You know, right now doctors say everything looks great. That's awesome in like 8 weeks. Like everything always looks great at 8 weeks. It's when you get further down the road. But when I'm huge, I'm not going to fit in the closet to record the podcast.
Our studio, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not going to fit in our studio and sit on the floor. I mean, our nice studio rug to record, you know, and then of course, yes, several weeks after I have the baby, I'm dead. That's essentially my body is saying, why did you do this to me? And I'm dead.
Because the body's been asking every time you have your period. It's like, you asshole, you didn't have a baby? Let's flush all this out until you actually have one.
Exactly.
The body better be grateful and happy.
You know what? My body's something right now. So, of course, we will let you guys know, like, when it's my last episode or whatever. We still have a long time to go. Not due till late October, so long time.
Yeah, just giving everyone a heads up. Again, I will try, and we'll both try to do something as far, but come October, November, there may be either a break time or a vast change in the way we do the podcast as far as the normal format, because best case scenario, I'll just have a shit ton of guests lined up for the next month or two until you can recover. Mm-hmm. Worst case scenario, we'll take a straight break. And I don't know how, I've never had a kid, so I've taken care of a little brother and a little sister, but not as an adult, not to the level where you are the parent. So I don't know how much time, and I'm sure it's going to be a shit ton of time, like goodbye free time, goodbye money, goodbye, all that stuff. So I don't know how much time I'm going to have to record and podcast and edit for that month, but I will definitely do my best, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I mean, the podcast is not going away. It's not ending. If anything, like I mentioned, it'll be a month or 2 month break, but I am going to do my hardest to record for that period and have different voices on to at least bring you guys something on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast.
And of course, if we do get to that break or guests or whatever, follow us on Twitter. There will be baby pictures galore. You know that this child will get all the superhero onesies that have ever existed. Boy, girl, doesn't matter. Slap a tutu on a Batman onesie and call it a day. Adorable little baby Broquette will be just breaking the internet.
And it is the first grandchild on both sides of the family.
On both sides. Forget about it. Already, so I went to my mom and I was like, Mom, this rich neighborhood is having a yard sale. Like, we should go buy cribs and stuff because it'll be cheap and it'll be, normally expensive stuff that rich people are getting rid of. Like, in my mind, that's the way this works. You save your money, you get cheap stuff. And Mom looks at me and she goes, it's the first grandbaby. No, I got this. I'm like, all right, Mom, then you're paying for it.
On top of that, as I said on Facebook, It comes from the purest of seeds. The best genes out there. So it will be a strong-ass little baby. It'll come out with, if it's a boy or a girl.
Super Saiyan baby?
It'll come out with a beard, regardless of sex. It'll come out angry-looking.
Can it come out with, like, blonde, flowy hair already? Like, Super Saiyan
a receding hairline as well. Tattoos. Like, instead of my Pokemon ones, they're going to be the same Pokemon, but the smallest form. Like, stage 1, not even stage 1, basic Pokemon. So instead of Nidoking, it'll be a Nidoran male. And as it grows, they'll evolve and they'll change. Absolutely. That's what I'm going to tell my kid, too. Like, how do you get those? Well, son, or daughter.
I actually read a quote once where it was talking about how people who have a lot of tattoos that aren't necessarily bad parents, because there was that stigma for a while. And one lady put a quote where her kid went to her and said, when will my drawings grow on? When will my drawings develop? Because she thought that's just what everybody had, because her mom and dad had them.
At 18.
When you turn 18, just do what you want.
At 20 plus, when you actually figured out what you definitely want on your body for the rest of your life.
So that is the most exciting news that's going on in our life. I mean, not really. We got a lot of great news, too.
Shit ton of great news on the podcast for today. We can kick it off with, and now we have a jingle, thanks to Fiverr, the hashtag games.
What hashtag games are is weekly, Daniel will put up hashtag games on our social media to get Broket's responses. And he tries to get my responses too, and sometimes I have them. And this week I do. I'm proud of myself.
I'm proud of you too. The hashtag game, we've got 2 of them. So this one was hashtag I froze when. And my response was, I froze when I first witnessed Darwin Cook creating art in person at MegaCon many years back. My stare made him uneasy.
He was so uneasy. He's like, is everything okay? And you're just like staring. And I'm like, yeah, we're good. And I like pulled you away.
He was creating art. He was doing, I think, Catwoman at that time. And it was beautiful. And I'll always remember that. Darwin Cook, never forgotten. We have some responses here. Let's go with yours.
Mm-hmm. I froze when Florida reached an all-time low of 72 degrees.
Now, ice cube.
Now, Florida's gotten much colder, but once it hits about 72, I'm real cold. Especially now. I stand at work, and it's 80 degrees, and I'm, like, bundled up in my jacket, and people are like, oh, are you cold today? And, of course, they didn't know I was pregnant, so I'm like, yeah, just cold today.
Now you have an excuse.
Yes.
Like, I can't make fun of you for being a weather baby.
No, because it's sucking on my blood. Just wait. 6 months from now, I'm going to be warm. The house will be turned down to 72 and the fan's blowing, and you're going to be freezing, and I'll have all the blankets off.
That's fine. Cool. You can make fun of me then.
I will. I'll call you a weather baby.
Another response here is from Matt on the Super Side Up podcast. Always an awesome contributor. Thank you so much. And be sure to check out the Super Side Up podcast. If you follow our Twitter, you should be able to see their tweets. I do retweet them when I can. And his response was, hashtag I froze when I got to meet Kevin Conroy and shake the hand of the Batman at last year's MegaCon. My stare flattered him, I think. End quote.
That was an amazing moment. We got to meet him last year also. And you got to that front of the line and it's like, whoa, this is really him.
Batman's right there.
He's right there.
I told him that everyone's testosterone level, man or woman, must have just gone up through the fucking roof, breathing the same air as the guy.
Yeah.
Everyone's voice just got deeper and stayed that way for a good week.
His Batman voice is the best. Not just because we grew up on him, but
no, not at all.
Because it's the best.
And his Justice League Action performances are amazing. If you're not watching Justice League Action, do yourself a favor. We've watched every single episode up to this point, and they are all on point. Batman, there's Batman the Animated Series references left and right. Superman references Wonder Woman. And then they've got the smaller characters that they are getting kids acquainted with, which is a smart move because, one, it's more toys you can sell.
Oh, yeah.
But two, it's the future generations, the future comic book buyers, the future movie watchers that you need to say, okay, well, this is what Swamp Thing's about. And here's Steppenwolf. You're about to see him in this year's Justice League. Everything is a build-up. Even Blue Beetle, like, he's coming up on, because of Young Justice, there's more eyes on him, but they used Blue Beetle, and that was amazing, too. So
Did he make any of his, Ay Dios?
He didn't, actually. I was like, all right, cool.
Those are the best, where he has the out of place Spanish quotes.
Those aren't the best. I'm like, that's not how we speak, damn it.
We do have another hashtag game too, which is what hashtag superhero, TV show, or film has caused you to discover/rediscover your love of a character?
I was very curious to see what people would say because of the television shows and the movies, it has brought a new audience to these different superheroes and villains. So you've got a response on this.
For me, it was Voltron. We recently watched it on Netflix, watched the whole thing, probably binged the whole thing, if we're being honest. Both seasons, but I completely fell in love with it. And I understand that this is a different take on the TV show from whenever.
Right.
But the characters that they put together and then all the different stories they told, and then when they actually do their Sailor Moon thing and form into Voltron, I'm like, yeah!
Is Voltron a superhero?
Yeah, why not? He's saving the universe.
All right, it does have a comic book.
Yeah, do you not consider his paladins superheroes? Like, they're saving people.
I guess so, sure. I mean, it's not a comic book origin superhero, but
I mean,
it counts.
He's still a
Voltron.
TV show. Would you consider Sailor Moon a superhero?
Yes, because Japanese comics as well. Voltron's a superhero, Sailor Moon's a superhero. Okay. That's fine.
What about DBZ?
They're not American superheroes.
What about Super
Like,
Saiyans?
if we're going to say American superheroes, they're not.
No, it's not an American, but it's still a superhero. I consider it a superhero.
My response is actually Constantine, because...
Oh, Constantine. I still won't read any of the other stuff.
That switched us over on the character for the most part. I know you're still like...
Nope.
Because of the show, you will tolerate the Constantine from Justice League Dark, even though it's not based on TV Constantine.
But it's still the same voice. It's pretty much.
But it has the same voice, so they're kind of like this is the only way in which they can make you enjoy Constantine. Like a troll would do that. Like, this is comic book Constantine, Kelly, but is voiced by the TV one. So what are you gonna do? So you're in that position where you could either not like it or be like, all right, this comic book based Constantine is actually okay because he sounds like the one from the TV show, and that is the only reason.
That's the only reason. But yes, that was a great show. I'm so sad that it got canceled. Can I say Lucifer?
Yeah, absolutely.
Lucifer is, oh man, it's a great show. I know you don't understand it.
Right, spun straight out of the Sandman comic book, though, and look at him now. Has his own comic book, and the TV show on Fox is massive.
Yes. Again, I know that the TV show is nothing like the comic book, but it's great. I love that show. I cannot wait for it to come back. April is when it's coming back, right? We're on a break.
I don't know.
I think it's April.
I definitely don't know. But yeah, we did report on it. So a few responses from the listeners. On Twitter, @BrianShop1 said Arrow. And yes, Arrow got fucking massive. I remember working at the shop about 2 years ago. I hadn't watched Arrow. It wasn't until like maybe a year and a half ago where we gave it a shot, and it wasn't for us. But 2 years ago when people started asking for not Green Arrow merchandise, Arrow, they said, do you have any Arrow comic books? And that's when I was like, Green Arrow? Or, yeah. And then I'd show them Green Arrow and the different comic books. And they would buy them, and I'm like, why are we selling Green Arrow stuff all of a sudden? That's when I'm like, oh, right, the Arrow show, it must be kind of big. And yes, it is more than kind of big. It is huge. Same thing happened when The Flash came out, although that we watched from the beginning. And that's another thing. Everyone came in looking for Flash comic books. And I'm like, this is great. More of these shows, please. I need to sell this Green Arrow and Flash stuff. So, yeah, Arrow's a great one, and especially for a lot of people. It made him into a almost a mainstream, I guess I would say, a mainstream superhero for a lot of people, right up there with the Flash, and I mean, maybe not Batman, but right up there with the fucking Flash.
Not with Batman, no. Our next one comes from @DarkKnightDrew, who says Daredevil.
You know, Ben Affleck's performance wasn't all that bad.
Wake me up inside! Every time I hear that song on the radio, I think of that movie.
He's obviously referring to the Netflix Daredevil show, which is another one that was very critically acclaimed. A lot of adults really enjoyed it. Didn't have the same pull as Arrow or The Flash, where people weren't coming in asking for Daredevil stuff or merchandise. But for anyone that was keeping up on all of the Marvel shows, they're now demanding for Daredevil to show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So that's the impact that the show has had. And I will admit, you know, while I'm not watching season 2, nor do I have a desire for it, the production on season 1 was incredible. Very well shot, well choreographed as well.
Definitely agree with that one.
Another response from Matt from the Super Side Up podcast, who said, quote, the 89 Batman film swung me back to not only Batman, but superheroes after an extended sabbatical in Transformers/G.I. Joe/Thundercats/Voltron/Robotech land for a good chunk of the mid-late 80s. #, old. End quote.
Voltron is still a superhero. So you never really got away from superheroes.
Thundercats?
Yeah, they're superheroes.
G.I. Joe?
They're real American heroes.
Awesome response.
And our last one comes from Joshua from Beyond the Start Button podcast, who says, the original Teen Titans cartoon made me really like Raven. End quote.
Him and many others. Our friend, Mr. Riggs, who was on the podcast before, loves Raven, picked up the miniseries that released recently from DC Comics. And to a lot of people, the Teen Titans were the superheroes for their, childhood or teenage years growing up. So that show did an incredible job. When they do eventually bring these characters into the cinematic universe or even into the shows, when you see Nightwing on the big screen or Starfire or hopefully one day Raven, we're already getting Cyborg this year. And we got him in Batman v Superman last year. That's going to be even more bankroll into the company, into Warner Brothers, and into the DC Comics companies. So yes, Raven has absolutely blown up and is arguably one of the cooler characters on Teen Titans and Teen Titans Go.
I liked Starfire the best.
Is it because she was a redhead too?
I don't know. I just liked her. Raven was all doom and gloom, and Starfire was happy all the time. And she had a love story with Robin.
Well, Raven had to be doom and gloom. She couldn't let her emotions run wild. She was the ultimate teenage character.
That is true.
Teenagers were like, she gets me. That's who I relate to.
Yes. No. Starfire related to me. All happy and sunshine and in love with Robin.
Thank you so much for all your responses, listeners. Love playing the hashtag games for you.
Thank you for picking ones that I could actually answer this time.
And on to our news for the week.
As we mentioned earlier, Nickelodeon is rebooting its Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series with a classic 2D show for 2018.
So this is called Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it is scheduled to debut in the fall of 2018 with a full 26-episode first season.
We have a quote here from the president of Nickelodeon Group, Seema Zargami.
Adele Dazim.
Listen, you and these names. I think you pick the hardest names. They have like 7 different names, and you're like, which one can Kelli not pronounce? So, Seema Zargami, who says, quote, the Turtles is a property that has reinvention in its DNA, which keeps it fresh and relevant to every new generation while satisfying the demand from its adult fans. Turtles has been an incredibly important franchise for us since we reignited it 5 years ago, and we're excited for the new series to take the characters in a different direction with more humor, a younger and lighter feel, and all new dimensions to explore. End quote.
So what does this mean for the current TMNT series on Nickelodeon? It is on its final season, premiering on March 19th. Let me tell you, that Nickelodeon series that is about to end is by far the best Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon of all time so far. Hopefully this new one tops it, but it was incredible. Mm-hmm. It is incredible. No, not the one from the 80s or 90s. Go back and watch it. It does not hold up. This stuff is thoroughly awesome. It is great. They're going back to a 2D form of animation. I don't know if that's going to be sort of like the Teen Titans Go stuff, where it's really animated and drawn through the computer. Either way, if they're going to reboot the franchise and to try to separate themselves from what they did with this long-running series, which was awesome again, they should change the format and the feel of it so that they don't make comparisons to that show. So yeah, by going 2D, you're going towards the direction that shows like Steven Universe or Teen Titans Go are, and that they are 2D. But on top of that, any adults that grew up with the Turtles can be like, okay, well, this is sort of something I'm more familiar with. Lighter than the current series. So yeah, it's going to be a younger demographic that they're going after. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be what the shows are doing now, especially with Justice League Action. Although there are references to some of the shows we grew up with, so I think they're doing it perfectly right. And I'm sure this TMNT show will be no exception to referencing the older TV shows and the movies.
I definitely agree with that, and I'm happy that they're doing this, especially with how popular the last show was. It's been going for 5 years now. Yeah, it's kind of time to start something new, especially with the lighter feel. You're going to pull in all those kids, because the people that I hear loving this show the most are kids. They're in that like 6-year-old to 10-year-old range. They love the Turtles, and you go to Target, you see all their merchandise.
Yeah, all over the place.
Buy their mask, buy their nunchucks, buy their... And I'm like... that's like a plastic stick. I don't really want my kid to be like running around the house, ninjaing.
They're like, quiet, lady. We gotta sell this.
We're gonna sell this stuff. Shh. So I think it's a smart move. I think we will definitely see a crossover sometime. Like, they'll go to another dimension and there's the old turtles.
Fucking hope so.
Like, why not? They did that here too, and we loved it. We ate it all up. So we'll definitely see that. This could go very badly, but in my mind, they did such a great job with this last show. I'm foreseeing that this one will do very well as well. Especially off the success of Teen Titans Go, too. That's the kind of show that kids are looking to watch.
So continuing with an article that I've seen all over Facebook and Twitter, and I guess no one has gone through and clicked on the data, but you may have seen it, Brokettes. So a site called Declutter recently used, supposedly, Google search data to determine what superheroes each state was searching for.
Their names look like Declutter.
Decluttr.
Declutter. It looks like something you buy at IKEA. It's one of those things. So using this data, they determined which states loved which heroes the most, based on their searches.
Spider-Man was allegedly the most Googled, including in the state of Florida, with top 10 searches in seven U.S. states, and Batman coming in at second place with 6 U.S. states.
Here's the kicker, though. Declutter did not provide any data as far as length, sample size, or the regions measured.
For example, and this is where I was like, hold on a second, what? And had to actually go on the site and see that there was no info at all. They just said, we searched Google data, that's all. Don't worry about our sample size. Mm-hmm. The Incredibles. Disney's The Incredibles was supposedly the #1 search superhero in Oklahoma, Jennifer Jones in California and Oregon.
That doesn't even make any sense.
To think that The Incredibles or Jessica Jones would be #1 in any U.S. state at all at any period of time does not make sense. Spider-Man, Batman, even Green Lantern was #1 in one state. And I said, no fucking way. Get the fuck out of here. No one is searching Green Lantern more than Spider-Man in any U.S. state. That's bullshit. So when I clicked on the website and saw that there was no data, no info on this whatsoever, I said, bullshit, Declutter. I don't know what parameters you put this under so that only certain superheroes were #1 in certain states. Just Jennifer Jones, we'll measure that California using when the show premiered. Aha, they're in this hour. Like, maybe that they did. Or the Incredibles somehow when they announced D23 Incredibles 2.
Or they only looked at the Google searches from writers for comic books or TV shows, and only in this particular section. So, of course, all the Jessica Jones writers were right there, and all the Spider-Man writers were over here. And isn't Disney's... no, I'm probably wrong. I thought Disney had a section that does their animated movies in Oregon.
That I'm not sure about. I don't know. You'd have to look that up. But I can definitely see Spider-Man or Batman being #1 and being some of the top searches out there. But when I saw the states and looked at the #1 results in several of them, I said, no way. That's Illinois, I think, had Daredevil as #1. And again, that's another one that I'm like, no way. Inside. So it's
Did they
bullshit.
Have, like, Evanescence as their top musical search?
They must have, just to match and try to fool people into thinking that their study was actually legitimate. Yeah, it's nonsense, everyone. It was nonsense. If you saw that article, if you wanted to click through, I'll save you the clicks and the time. Don't give them more traffic, because when you go on there, they actually then try to sell you things based on their fucking pop-ups and all that. It's like, okay, this I see why they did this. And I don't know what websites were paid or clicked. I don't know what it is.
Buy this IKEA couch. Buy this IKEA dresser.
But rest assured that it is bullshit.
So what is your #1 most searched Google superhero? Most Google searched superhero?
I don't know. I guess I don't really search on Google. I don't go on there and say, okay, Batman's first appearance. No, I don't do any of that. So I just go based on, I guess, Newsarama, maybe Wikipedia, but it just depends on what movie's coming out and what information I can get. I generally don't search for, like, okay, history of Nightwing, unless I'm at work, where someone says, hey, so how did Supergirl this, and this? And then if I can link it to selling something, I'm like, okay, well, let's go find out. So aside from that, no, I don't, in my free time, I don't go on there and try to look up more info. I mean, do you?
I go on Pinterest and I Google Vegeta and Bulma in love.
Okay, so Vegeta's your answer. In Florida, just your searches alone, Vegeta. They can, go ahead, Declutter, put Vegeta in Florida. Just based on right now, this evidence here from Vocal.
Well, sometimes I look at Voltron, too, Nobody ever pairs Pidge up with anybody.
Not as often as Vegeta, though.
No, I do. But I'm on a Vegeta kick right now. Like, next week it'll be a different couple. Like,
Probably.
It was Zuko and Katara for a long time, and then I read all the good fan fiction, and then it was Kagome and Inuyasha for a long time, and then I read all the good fan fiction. There's plenty of Vegeta Bulma fan fiction out there that I've yet to touch.
Here's a new story, Kelli, that has been really controversial for this convention and actually brings up a very good talking point in the handling of cons.
So EliteCon was a convention held the weekend of March 12th here in Florida. In an unusual convention policy, EliteCon reminded attendees that cosplays would not be allowed at the show.
So EliteCon posted this via a Facebook post that got bombarded soon after, but this post said, quote, "We appreciate cosplay, but we want to keep the focus on the collectibles of our event. If your primary concern is the allowance of cosplay and not the premium collectibles we will offer, then our show may not be the right one for you. Our focus is solely on the collectibles, as we have stated many times. We respect your decision not to attend and ask that you respect our decision to be a different kind of event, even though you may disagree with us." End quote.
Reactions were strong with over 1,000 posts challenging this policy for the show.
So one, let me just say that I have never heard of EliteCon.
Nope.
We have lived in Florida I've lived for over 10 years. You've been here your whole life. Have you ever heard of EliteCon?
Nope.
I can safely say that most of the people arguing against this policy aren't attending the show anyway. These are people that are challenging this, I'm assuming in hopefully not because they're, upset that afternoon and, this is their thing to argue, but I'm assuming so that other conventions don't look at this and say, okay, well, let's see what the results of this are and maybe we'll implement this at our convention, because they want to go to, for example, MegaCon and cosplay and build up their fan base and interact with the attendees as well. But this convention is, I'm assuming, being run by an older crowd of people who are legitimately just there for the collectibles. And one of the things I have seen living here in Florida and interacting with the people that go to MegaCon are the attendees that say, the cosplays are great, but they block the fucking hallways. I want to look at these comics and I want to drive the price down. I want to argue with the dealer and talk to the dealer, but instead, here comes this huge crowd and they're all taking pictures of this one cosplay and they're blocking everything and they're ruining the convention experience for me. On the other side, there are people that have gone to these conventions and say, the cosplays were amazing. Look at all these pictures I took and it was great. Where cosplay is a part of the convention experience now. So there's two very good points on both sides that I honestly agree with. I can't really rip myself from one side or another.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that boat. When you first told me about this, I was like, well, that's stupid. And then as you explained it more, where they're actually getting in the way of people who are genuinely looking to purchase things, I can totally understand that. Because realistically, how many cosplayers do you see going to these booths to buy things?
Very few to none.
Very few.
Yes.
They buy cutesy little anime things or a little trinket or some art that represents the character that they're playing or one of their favorite characters. And then that's pretty much it. That's all that they're there for.
Which it's all in their right. They can absolutely do that.
Exactly. I will say that cosplay is one of the things that I think I enjoy most about conventions. I like seeing all the cool costumes. I like wishing that I had dressed up.
And you've cosplayed in the past
I
as
have.
well.
I have. I've gone as Harley Quinn and Strix and Misty. I think I went as Ash dressed as Misty. Misty dressed as Ash. I did that one year. I have my next one picked out for next year.
Bulma
and
from
Vegeta.
Dragon Ball Z.
You got to be Vegeta.
I'll be Vegeta.
And then we can have a baby Trunks. Oh my god! I'm so excited. So yes, that's my next one that I've picked out. That one won't be too hard, I hope. I'll just do some sit-ups, right?
That's all. That's all you gotta do.
A lot of sit-ups. So yes, I definitely love the cosplay community. I think that it's great. But if I was going to a convention with the sole purpose of purchasing things, and like you said, there was somebody with big old wings blocking. I mean, Saturdays at MegaCon are...
Forget about it.
Forget about it. And that's why I'm glad that some conventions are doing earlier days in the week, like Thursdays or Fridays, which would be great for people who are trying to avoid that. But then at the same time, they also have work on those days.
Some conventions have implemented policies where they say if your cosplay has larger props to it, like a huge weapon or giant wings, then you actually can't be on the show floor. You have to be off to the side, either the edges or in the hallways. where 1, there's more space. 2, you're not blocking hallways, and 3, you're honestly going to be featured more because as people are coming in, they'll want to take pictures of you. As they're leaving, they want to take pictures of. And I know several cosplayers that we see at MegaCon that only stay outside, like near the entrance or in the open hallways, and they never go on the show. And on the floor because of that very reason, where they don't want to block any hallways. They don't want to mess with anyone that's actually there to buy things. And when they are ready to shop, you'll see them. They'll go to the bathroom, they'll change, and then they'll go shop in the convention. So that's, I think, ideally what you want to see out of your cosplays. But instead, this convention is avoiding the headache. And I'm assuming it's a size and manpower issue where they don't want to have the extra staff there to say, hey, you can't be wearing that here. Or they already know ahead of time based on something they ran in the past, like, it was just cosplayers that came here that didn't buy a ticket. And that happens too. They don't buy a ticket and they just hang out outside of the convention. And, that's another thing. They'll block even the entrances to the actual convention center itself. If they're a smaller center, that is going to be an issue too. So I don't know. This is a huge backlash for Elite Con. And on top of that, some people were like, what does Elite Con mean? Are you guys saying that you're the elite of the collectors because you don't want cosplay? And they even put out a post that said, no, this is what elite means. And I'm like, guys, 1, don't respond to that because they kept deleting the older posts and making a new post that says, guys, once again, this is why we're doing it, which fed the whole thing all over again. So I think the handling of it wasn't done well by Elite Con, and instead it should have just kept it at, just a reminder, guys, no cosplays, and then done. Like, bust out of there like, I'm out!
Drop the mic. Boom, done. It's all well within their rights to say this. I don't fault them for it. I understand why they did it. Yes, could they have handled it better? Probably. But at the same time, it seems like, and with anything, people tend to get irrational. They take things emotionally and say, oh, well, if you don't like me, then I don't like you. And that's not what they're saying. They're saying the people that come here to our shows, they come here specifically for this reason.
For the dealers.
For the dealers. And we are trying to give a better experience for those people and for our dealers.
That could also even be dealers that complained in the past, like, hey, don't have cosplayers here because again, it's affecting our business as we try to sell things. So all in all, guys, if this convention, as they said, if you're there for purely the cosplay and not the collectibles, then this convention's not for you. And I think they're kind of right. There are plenty of cosplay conventions throughout the entire nation, throughout the year, that are anime, comic book, whatever it may be, Star Trek, Star Wars. There are other conventions. And not all of them, as you see, are going to allow cosplays. And if that's the case, then yeah, don't give them your money. Don't go there. Go to another convention that is going to be open to cosplays. And people that are there for collectibles are still going to go to EliteCon. That's really the end of the day. That's the story. And as we mentioned, I don't think there's really a strong right or wrong in this case.
So now we can move into some comic book news. We got a good amount of comic book news this week. We're going to start off with Edge of Venomverse.
Venomverse?
It should be Venomverse.
But it's a universe of Venom.
Venomverse. Fine. I would not have named it that way. Edge of Venomverse.
Well, the reason they did that is because they did Edge of Spider-Verse. You remember we were reading ASM?
But that one sounds cool.
That's true.
So this was announced by Marvel as a 5-issue miniseries launching in June.
So this is headlined by Eddie Brock's return in the Marvel Universe as all the superheroes confront the Venomized superheroes as featured in this month's Venom variants. A lot of fucking V's. Jeez.
Venomverse variants, Venomized,
Voltron.
Voltron. So yes, you see on the cover, you have Venom in the middle, and then Venomized Wolverine. And
Venomine.
Venomine. Is that what we're calling it?
I don't know what we're calling it. Venomverine?
No. You just can't make Venom sound cool.
Dr. Venom?
Who?
Man Venom?
Who?
Well, it'd be like Doctor Strange, but Dr. Venom. Instead of Man Thing, it'd be Man Venom.
Oh.
Venom
Did they
thing?
have like a Thorum?
Thorno. Venor.
Venor. So yes, you see Venom in the middle, all these different Venomized superheroes. You don't see Venom Batman, and you know why?
Well, yeah, let's set it up, because I showed you the cover, and I said, if Batman were in this universe, he would be one of these Venom people undercover, so that he can spring up at the opportune time and capture all of the Venomized characters. and take him away, take the symbiote, put him in the Batcave so he can analyze it, study it, and know how to control it. And yeah, as you mentioned, it's Eddie Brock in the middle holding up his Venom hand and all of his cronies around him. And I said, Kelli, if Batman were undercover in this series, which one of these characters would he be? And you came up with the best response.
I had two responses. Which one was the best one? Because first I said he was the one in the middle.
Correct. And that's the best response. And that is Eddie Brock himself.
Yes.
It would have been Venom the whole time. Eddie Brock would have been locked out like already. Weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, well, I'm going to take the symbiote, which he can control, of course.
Yes.
Because it's Batman. And go undercover and go carry out the plan, but not get anyone killed in the process. And then capture all the Venom symbiotes, as I mentioned. What was your second one?
No, that was the same one. Because I said he was going to be in the middle, but he wouldn't have been taken over by Venom. So, yes, that's it. So he's really controlling Venom. Like, in Venom's mind, the suit latches onto him and, like, takes over. But then it's really, like, he's like, oh, this isn't working. And then, again, this is all, like, a dream sequence. And then he just sees, like, Batman there. And then Batman, like...
his cape?
Yeah, he, like, symbiotes onto him and takes over him. Ah, it's so great. That's exactly
Good job,
what would
Batman.
happen.
Holy shit.
Why are you so cool?
This hasn't actually happened, and we're giving Batman credit for it. He once took over undercover, and he can withstand the symbiote.
Batman can withstand anything, please. All those times other heroes save him, nah, he would have figured out eventually.
I will tell you what, though, is that Venom is a hugely popular character, as we all know. The symbiotes are incredibly hot. Anytime you have the Venom comics or the Carnage comics, those will forever sell out of the comic bins, just like Harley Quinn, just like Deadpool. You can have them in your bins and they'll eventually sell, and sometimes at a premium price if they're some of the lower printing Venom issues. So yeah, the Venom variants I thought were great. They're not flying off the shelves as we thought. Like we thought people would be really looking for these, but I think it's going to be one of those delayed effects where as the Venom fans, which are for the most part not monthly readers, they just they like the character and they like to pick up a cool cover here or there, and evidence of that is the space Venom. You don't see a lot of Agent Venom. Isn't discussed too much on Facebook.
Venom?
Agent.
Oh, I thought it was Asian Venom. That was way cooler.
Isn't discussed too often on Twitter or on Facebook. People are mainly talking about Eddie Brock because that's the one that they grew up with. That's the one they saw in the animated series. And they're bringing that character back. So hopefully that is going to bring these readers over to the series and they'll buy monthly. But if anything, they'll at least get the Edge of Venomverse miniseries and the Venom variants, which again, I think a month or 2 months from now, you're going to see these readers come in and say, I didn't know these Venom variants had come out yet. I'm going to get them all. Where do you have the rest of these? It's like, all right, awesome. Glad we ordered extras.
Definitely. Like you said, that character is huge. I don't know why.
He looks cool. That's all it is. He looks cool.
So this Agent Venom, did he wear like a little hat and like solve mysteries?
No, this is the one that was the military Venom, where it's Flash Thompson. He had lost his legs in the war.
Oh, yeah, I remember. I thought he was going around space solving mysteries.
Eventually, he became one of the members of the Guardians of the Galaxy because they came across a planet of the symbiotes where the Venom symbiote came from. And of course, they needed to enlist the help of Venom and all of that. So that's how they tied him into the Guardians series. And honestly, I want to see that on the big screen. Like in Guardians 3, let's get Venom on that, that team.
So we have some more Marvel news. Through a press release from Marvel Comics, the company is implementing a new marketing initiative that uses GeoTargeting technology to encourage readers to visit their local comic book shops.
I saw a screenshot of this. Like you see the Marvel Comics book out this week, and then you click on a cover, and you scroll down a little bit, and it says, pick it up at this shop in your area. And it'll have like a Google's map set up, and you can click on each shop, and when you do, it'll bring up their address, their phone number. You can contact them directly. We have a quote here from the press release that says, embedded within Marvel emails, shared across our Marvel social media networks, fed through advertising partners, and more, this ambitious program is estimated to reach millions of prospective readers, both new and existing, end quote.
We also have another quote from Marvel's editor-in-chief, Axel Alonso, who says, quote, comic book shops have been and always will be the lifeblood of our industry. It's Marvel's mission not only to keep those retailers stocked with exciting comics, but to keep fans coming through their door week after week to engage with those communities. We have a lot of exciting ideas for how to reach new and lapsed fans in 2017, and this is just the start." End quote.
I'm glad they're knocking this out now before they do their own Marvel Rebirth event, because that should be up and running when Marvel Comics picks up again in popularity. So yeah, I think this is awesome. It's always great to see them, any of the big companies support their local comic book shops. And for a lot of comic shops that can't afford marketing or to go out there and flyer up the city, this will really help them out, because comic shops, compared to most businesses, are small, locally owned businesses. So to have something like the Marvel app or the Marvel website help out in saying, okay, you know how often I have people come into, the comic shop I work in and say, "I didn't know this was here." And that happens all the time. And that's because people are getting into comics. They want to explore the superheroes that they see on TV or on the big screen. And with this initiative that I hope the other companies eventually do something similar for, it's only going to bring more traffic to the shops, and it's going to cause them to discover not only more Marvel superheroes, but more comics in general, which is going to help all of the publishers out there.
I find this interesting that they did this right after they changed how they do their digital comics to make people buy more digital comics. So it's like they saw the backlash from retailers and like, but we did this for you too.
Check this out right here.
Look, here it is.
We can release this now.
Yeah, go ahead. Send it now. But it's not ready. Just send it out.
Put it fucking out there. It can't be worse than Pokemon Go.
Aw, poor Pokemon Go. Did you see they have Gen 2 on there now?
They do. And I know some of my friends went back to it. I know that many did not.
Same. I did not go back to it. Sometimes I play it at work when I'm bored. Don't tell anybody.
Ooh. I've yelled at people for playing
only while I'm
Pokemon Go on the clock.
Only while I'm on the toilet. I can get 3 Pokestops from my bathroom.
We're going to wrap up the news portion of today's show with news from the DC Extended Universe.
According to The Wrap, a well-placed insider at Warner Brothers DC Films said that the company is open to R-rated superhero films given the right character.
That is literally all of the news right there. All it is saying, yeah, we're open to the idea. That is everything.
That's not news.
It is. You're right. It is not news.
I mean, of course they'd be open to it.
But people have taken this as confirmation, like, there's an R-rated movie coming right now. You're going to see it soon, everyone. It was so fucking commented on Newsarama's Facebook page that I was like, you guys, they just said that they're open to the idea. And they've said this in the past as well. This is not news for anyone.
No.
Not even for, but this was an opportunity for some tons of nerd rage reaction, which we will get to. But while no film from the DC Extended Universe has been released in theaters with an R rating, the Blu-ray release of Batman v Superman contained the extended R-rated edition.
Yeah, so they're not opposed to an R-rated movie. Calm down, guys.
So let me ask you, Kelly, which DC characters could benefit from having an R-rated movie?
This one's tough. See, I would love to say Harley Quinn, because you could pull Harley Quinn in that direction if you're doing the slapstick humor. But I don't think they're going to do that with her. What about you? Who do you see?
Justice League Dark, Swamp Thing, Constantine, Lobo.
Lobo for sure.
Suicide Squad 2, Gotham City Sirens, a future Batman film.
All of them. All of them.
I mean, there's a lot of options there, and they can go in several directions. I think Suicide Squad 2 will probably be an R-rated movie.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that, especially with the success of that guy that I don't like, Deadpool.
Or even more recently, Logan.
Mm-hmm.
People are taking that as like, okay, the studios are seeing that R-rated superhero movies will make you money. They can work. Even though you're limiting your audiences, they're still going to bring in some serious cash.
Not everyone is happy about this announcement, though.
Of course not, and I could have picked out several Nerd Rage reactions. I only picked one. But here we have this week's Nerd Rage Reaction!
I gotta add clouds in there. How do you make cloud noises?
I don't know.
There were a lot of clouds on DBZ last time.
It was just the wind, basically. Clouds don't make noises.
No, they make like fluffy noises.
They don't make fluffy noises.
Have you never seen the Winnie the Pooh episode where he goes and he broke the clouds and he had to fix the clouds?
Like a there. I've heard poofs and I've heard bounces.
No,
because cartoon characters bounce on clouds.
They were like, He turned on a faucet of clouds. Okay, whatever. So for those of you who don't know, a Nerd Rage reaction is a comment that we pick out from the internet. We're not going to tell you who it's by, but they are expressing their displeasure because apparently nothing can go right in their life. And this week's is, how many movies in and still trying to figure out who they are? Already missed an opportunity for an R-rated Suicide Squad.
End quotes.
Yeah, and Suicide Squad was still great. Oscar-winning Suicide Squad was still great.
And it made money. Look, here's the thing, Nerd Rager. If they had... This was the second... Oh, I guess technically Man of Steel would count, but this was the third movie in their DC extended universe. You think they were going to risk it by putting out an R-rated Suicide Squad movie?
Especially after the reaction they got from BVS.
Especially after the fact that they cast Jared Leto, who is going to bring in a lot of young viewers. Mm-hmm. Viewers that are not old enough to watch R-rated movies. So no, you don't cast someone like Jared Leto to put him in a fucking R-rated movie. You don't have your third movie out of the gate and limit the audience to an R rating. You don't fucking do that. So that's why they didn't miss an opportunity. It would have made less money.
Yes.
They dodged a fucking bullet.
Yes. It may not have won an Oscar.
That's true. It might not have won the Oscar. That's always going to be something we'll remind everyone.
So let me ask you, let me bring up this other thing. So you mentioned this was the third movie from DC.
Right.
In this recent round. Okay, so how many movies did Marvel release before they released an R-rated movie?
None. Disney Marvel has yet to release an R-rated movie.
But there was all the other Marvel movies before we got to Deadpool. You had all the Avengers, and you had all the Iron Mans, and you had some Thor things. The question you want to
ask is, how many movies did 20th Century Fox release
were Marvel-related characters?
You and
your complications.
Well, no, because I had this argument with someone on Facebook as well, because they said, another Nerd Rager said, well, there's DC trying to copy Marvel. It's like, no, it's 20th Century Fox. And 2, they never said they're actually coming out with an R-rated movie. And 3, if they hadn't done, let's say they said, okay, yeah, we are coming out with an R-rated movie thanks to the success of Logan and Deadpool. 1, that's not Disney. 2, that's 20th Century Fox. And 3, if they hadn't done that, you would say, well, why aren't they doing things like Disney or Marvel? That's working, so why don't they take a page out of Disney and Marvel and do it for the DC movies? Now that they're doing that, in your mind, which they aren't, you're saying, well, they're just copying them. They're just fucking copying them. Again, no win, because in their mind, uphill battle in this fictional fucking race. There's my fucking rant right there.
Your soapbox.
My little soapbox. Yes, so to answer your question, 20th Century Fox, how many of those did they release? What, over 10? Over 10 movies?
Yeah, a lot. And DC has released 3. So, calm down.
And it is not like the first time you've seen an R-rated superhero movie. Blade was R-rated. You had the Watchmen movies that were R-rated as well.
Only for dingleberries.
The difference is, and this is what I told another Nerd Ragers on Facebook, and I know I shouldn't respond to them, but, maybe they'll like the page.
Let me listen to this podcast so I can make fun of him.
Just keep downloading. Is that someone said that this is not new news, that people are acting as if this is like some newfangled discovery to have you can have R-rated superhero movies. And they said, that's not new. We've had those. You're right. But now they're bringing in money. Mm-hmm. They are making a shit ton of money. They're not doing Watchmen money. This is Logan. This is Deadpool money. So it's not that they're saying that this is a new thing. It's that now you can do it.
So the moral of the story is, will we see one eventually from DC? Of course we will. That's not even a question. Is this real news? Not really, because we all knew it was going to happen. So just calm down.
Well, on top of that, they're not even confirming anything.
Right.
They just said, we're open to the idea.
I guess. Maybe the Aquaman movie can be R-rated. He'll just drink all the time, and we'll call it R-rated.
I'm open to a Condiment King movie. Headline, Daniel says he wants to see a Condiment King movie. He wants to see those movies come before Aquaman. He'd rather see fucking Constantine never come back than see a condiment. Like, this is the kind of reaction that people are having to this. A simple, nothing bit from an unnamed source, insider supposedly, just saying that they're open to the idea.
Can Condiment King be their R-rated movie, please?
The ketchup is blood?
Yeah. It's really blood from, his enemies, and you find that out later. And then he could get it on with a woman, because he's also the condom king.
So there's your sex.
There. I put it in there. We're done.
And banned in China.
Yes,
so perfect. You know it's R-rated.
Perfect.
You did it right. So there you have it, Brokettes. That is the bit of news. We are going to go into our Patreon shout-outs of the week.
This week, it goes out to Bobby, who is at Cuban Slim, and Neil, who is in Mats68. Both of them are on Twitter.
Yeah, Bobby he's collected all of the Breath of the Wild amiibo. All of them. He's the amiibo hunter, and he's enjoying the game on the Wii U.
Amiibos are to him as Pikachu 3DSs are to me.
Gotta
we must
catch
have
'em
all of them.
Exactly. And Neil has been kind enough to pass out our business cards. He asked us to send them a handful of them. So thank you so much, Neil, for backing us on Patreon. He also retweeted one of the posts. Seems to be enjoying Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, which has been a very solid title for DC Rebirth.
So thank you guys so much for your support. If you guys are listening and you say, hey, I want to support too, babies are expensive, so you need some more money, you can go to patreon.com/TheReasonsImBroke for as little as $1 a month. You too can get your shout out.
We also want to thank decalavenue.com for the help at the $5 reward tier. You can also find the link to our Patreon at TheReasonsImBroke.com. Definitely check out our brand new website. We have a merchandise shop up there where you can check out the latest designs for our t-shirts. At the very least, check them out because we are very proud of the new website and the new layout and the new design as well.
But of course, guys, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do for us is hit us up on Twitter. Let us know what you thought of the show. Participate in our hashtag games. Just reach out to us. Talk to us about the things that you like. The reason we do this show is for all of you.
And on to our comic book highlight of the week.
As we mentioned at the very beginning, this week is Batman number 18, I Am Bane Part 3.
This is written by Tom King, with art by David Finch, and colors by Jordi Belair.
Tom King is just winning over my heart.
While Batman hasn't been the strongest series in Rebirth, it is now on another upswing because, as we mentioned, this is our highlight, and for a good reason. It is awesome. It is the reflection and comparison and the differences between Bruce Wayne and Bane. The very similar upbringings, the very brutal transformations into Batman and Bane, but the negative and the positive reinforcements that each character have had. And of course, yet another confrontation between the two characters.
It was all laid out perfectly, too. We started at the very beginning with side-by-side panels of how their lives began, essentially since losing their mothers, and how that played such an important role for them in becoming who they are. And then woven in within this background story, you have them actually fighting. Bane versus Batman. The thing everybody loves to see because Bane broke the Batman that one time a long time ago. And we follow this amazing tale of course, Batman becoming who he is, but seeing the hardship that Bane's had to go through and how that really shaped him as a person, where it seemed like Batman, little Bruce, had all this luxury growing up where he could really form who he wanted to be. And Bane kind of had the same mission. He just went in a different approach of, rather than snuffing out the evil, I want to rule the evil.
Exactly. And on top of that, this issue itself is very simple as far as plot. Like, very little happens in it, but all of it is about the memories. All of it is the storytelling, the character build-up, and the reflection on each of these two characters. And that's what made this issue great. Because at the end of the day, the plot itself isn't groundbreaking, nothing too different that we haven't seen before occurred in this, but instead we explored and compared the two characters in a way that I've never seen before. And I thought that was really neat in this Batman ongoing.
Definitely. I think the thing that it did most for me is it made me care for Bane by the end of it.
Yes.
Because it's, poor Bane, but then at the same time, I'm like, kick his ass, Batman.
Absolutely. Awesome issue. Again, that's Batman number 18.
And you see that Catwoman's not all bad and she's still in love with Batman. Boom.
So here we go, Brokettes. Onward with our Logan review, which the whole world has apparently seen. If you haven't seen Logan, though, thank you so much for tuning in. This is your warning that there will be spoilers in this review of the latest from the X-Men franchise. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on episode number 234.
But for those of you sticking around, we do have some fun facts, some statistics about the movie before we jump into our thoughts about it. So 20th Century Fox's Logan garnered $87.5 million in North America, beating industry estimates due to his R rating. This puts it ahead of Wolverine Origins, The Wolverine, but it is behind X-Men The Last Stand, which did $102 million, and X-Men Days of Future Past, which did $90.8 million.
This also makes it the 4th highest ranking R-rated feature, behind Deadpool, which did $132.4 million, The Matrix Reloaded at $91.7 million, and American Sniper at $89.3 million.
Internationally, it brought in $152 million, with a total global taking of $237 million on opening weekend.
A juggernaut of a movie. Onward with our Logan review.
We got ourselves an X-Men fan. Maybe a quarter of it happened, and not like this. In the real world, people die.
Logan.
I don't want to talk about it.
Logan. Just stop.
So overall, looking at the movie as a whole, it wasn't what I expected. I still enjoyed it, but it's probably not something that I'm jumping out to watch again.
This is the send-off, a very appropriate send-off, I think, for the character of Wolverine, for Hugh Jackman as well, who will now obviously be playing Wolverine forever. This probably won't be the last time, but this is still a very good way to close off the character of Wolverine. And this isn't to say that we won't see, you know, what happened with Xavier and exploring the earlier years for Wolverine or even X-23. But it's if Hugh Jackman never returned to the role, I think most people would be happy with what they ended up getting. You said Logan wasn't what you were expecting as far as what you saw. What did you think was going to be the film, looking at the trailers or going into it?
You know, I'm not entirely sure. I've tried to stay away from the trailers a little bit because they never really project what the movie's going to be, and then you spoil some things. And so, for example, with Beauty and the Beast, I've watched one trailer and that's it. And of course, it pops up on my feed all the time, and I'm like, I'll see the movie soon enough.
Yes.
But it was a very, very heavy movie. It left me very sad at the end. It was just pain and pain and pain and sadness.
Depression,
yeah.
pain. Yeah, of course.
And I understand that that's what the movie was supposed to be. They were trying to show where Wolverine is. They had him overcome that last trial, and then that was it. But it made me cry.
Yeah, that's one thing I've heard initially from all the people that have talked on Logan is they loved it, but that they cried. And everyone's like, man tears. Just man tears. I'm like, it's just fucking tears, man. They're just tears. Be proud. Fucking cry. Like, the one thing, though, is I am a crier at movies. You know, I will tear up at kids' movies and superhero movies. I did not tear up at all during Logan. Like, not one bit of that made me cry. I don't know what it was about it. Maybe it just didn't move me in such a way. I don't know. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it was not one that I would cry during. Maybe if I saw this with the captions, because that is one thing about the movie is it is harder to understand some of the scenes, especially when the volume is really low and one of the characters, X-23, has a bit of an accent. And even though, you know, I come from Mexican parents, it's still like, I don't think the original actress, I think she did some training to have the accent down. And then Hugh Jackman, you couldn't understand also when during this dying scene, and it wasn't until later that I looked it up. And I even asked you, what was he saying? And I asked my friends, my coworkers, okay, what was Logan saying to Laura at the end there? I don't understand. And they're like, oh, I think he said this. And I'm like, did no one catch that? Like, well, why was everyone crying? What was going on?
I caught it.
Okay, what did Logan say to Laura?
Man.
The exact same reaction everyone else had when I asked him.
If you hadn't asked me, because I told you during the movie, you're like, what was the last thing he said?
Like, don't be someone you don't want to be, or you don't have to be what you were trained to be. That's something like what you had said, but I'm like, I think there was more to it, though. And it wasn't until I looked it up later that I saw that Laura, during his obituary, was quoting the movie
that they
from
watched,
earlier, which I didn't catch. And then the other thing was aside from her saying, like, Daddy, don't leave, which was, you know, heartwarming because she referred to her as her father, and that was pretty important. But I don't know, maybe it was okay for me. Like, the whole movie itself, it was fine. It wasn't amazing, wasn't great, wasn't terrible. It was just all right. It was okay, and that's not a bad thing. It was a very, very decent movie.
I heard they were talking about it on Facebook, and something that I didn't really catch the first time, and I guess I don't really know a lot about this genre of movies, but they called it the best Western they had ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd go that far.
I mean, there's a lot of Western themes in it.
No, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
a character who's a lone wolf who
It's a
then,
Western.
has to overcome things to solve justice for somebody else who's being infringed upon, and the white man. And
No, it is definitely a Western, but no, I wouldn't put it anywhere near like top 10 Westerns at all.
no.
But it was fine. It was all right.
I did feel like it was a very long movie for me, and that may have just been because I had to pee 30 minutes into it.
They could have easily cut 10 minutes and it would have had the same outcome. I agree. It was a little bit long. I think leaving it at where we didn't have a lot of answers as to why Xavier had killed off so many mutants thanks to, this disease that he was going through. I'm assuming due to age. So I don't feel like we needed to know those answers. Like, we saw the outcome. We saw that he was in pain. We saw that he was essentially a ticking time bomb, and only Wolverine could keep him under control because he doesn't get as paralyzed as some of the other mutants or humans. So I did admire that they didn't spoon feed us all of the details on why there are no mutants. Or
that also leaves opening for another movie.
It can, yeah.
A movie earlier where this actually happens. What I pulled from it, though, and I may be wrong on this, that guy who was creating the other mutants tracked down the other mutants.
Yes.
And pretty much killed them off.
But kept their DNA to create and sedate his own mutants.
I think Xavier just killed 600 people. Like, he had a seizure that just went wrong and Wolverine wasn't there. And he just killed 600 people.
Some of which could have been even at the school. And which would have wiped out a shit ton of mutants.
Well, they said the actual city. He was in some random city.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was. I think because after the incident that he had where he was in that hotel during the movie, then the news station was like, this is very similar to what happened in here that killed 600 people. I am really hoping this leads to more X-23 movies, though, because I did really like her character. And the little team they built around her seemed like it had some fun people, except for that leader kid. I didn't like him. He was, I shot my arm. Now I can't do anything.
All of the Mexican immigrant mutants?
Yes.
Yeah, they were a lot of fun.
They were great. They had all their little powers, and then they were just like killing that guy with all their powers.
They reminded me of the kids from Hook.
Yes!
Like, that's what I was reminded of.
That's why I liked them. The Lost Boys.
Like, the one kid's, like, skin deformities. I'm like, that's kind of like the face paint that they wore. I wanted to see one of them roll into another bad guy.
I mean, we did have that kid. He was booking it, remember?
Yeah, he just didn't roll. I'm like, come on, roll into someone. Dan, it's not the same actor.
Turn into a boulder. That can be your mutant power.
That would have been amazing. That's what I would have had in the fucking movie. Hugh Jackman did an incredible job. I mean, he's an awesome actor.
Yeah.
He's going to be known for Wolverine, and people love his performance, and they're absolutely going to miss him if this is, in fact, which it won't be, if this is his last time as Wolverine. X-23 became a huge fan favorite for a lot of people. I've had some people come in, and they're like, hey, so are there comics featuring, and they call her by Laura. That was the character's name, right, Laura? And I'm like, yeah, right over here. It's the X-23 books. There's all new Wolverine out right now, in which she is the new Wolverine, and there's an Old Man Logan in that universe, so that's perfect. Here's an Old Man Logan comic. Here's the original one. Nothing like the movie, just a heads up. There's the Hulk is in it, and Red Skull, which you didn't see in the movie. So, but this is where they got a lot of inspiration from, so here you go. Yeah, I mean, people are very happy with it. It did extremely well. To anyone saying that they should sell it over to Disney, and it's like, no, Fox is making too much money.
They're
in
doing
spite
a great
of
job.
what you think. However well you think the movies are, even if you thought Apocalypse was crap, it still made millions of dollars. It made a profit. That franchise is not going anywhere.
I will say I'm surprised that this many people liked it, because I remember talking to a coworker right before Logan came out. And he was saying, oh man, this movie's going to be great. It's rated R just like Deadpool. And I wanted to be like, it's not going to be anything like a Deadpool. It's two very different characters, two very different movies. But he actually really enjoyed the movie also, which surprised me, seeing as how I felt he was going into it expecting another Deadpool. I
think it hit that audience very well, though, because I've seen a lot of people come in very excited to see Logan and like, hey, did you see Logan? Yeah, I saw it. Man, all that, when he put the claws through the guy's head, so it's like, okay, I see what you were looking for in the movie.
and you got it, and you got a lot of cursing, too.
Tons of cursing, tons of violence for people that like the audience from Arrival that expected a horror movie with creepy and scary aliens. They got that audience. They're happy. And it got the audience, for the most part, that wanted a deeper, sad story out of the X-Men universe. And we definitely got that shit. This was darker than the Nolan movies.
Yeah.
All the Batman movies combined. It was darker than Dark Knight Rises, which is the darkest of the Batman movies. I mean, it is heavy. There's some heavy shit in here. No, there's no post-credit scene if you haven't seen it yet. So that is the end. That black movies, or the sad music during the credits, go home.
Yeah, and it was very sad, but and again, spoilers, Logan was dying anyway. Why not go out like this? You saved a bunch of kids. You saved your daughter, who, the first person you probably really cared about, except for Xavier. You gave her a better life, and then that's it. Now you're dead.
Wonder if we should come up with some kind of rating system moving forward. I mean, I hate to put like stars or thumbs up or anything like that, but I feel like it would better reflect on like what our final thoughts are. I mean,
yeah,
man was just all right. Maybe we'll come up with something. I don't know. But in the meantime, let us know what you thought of Logan on Twitter @ReasonsImBroke and on yours @PalpaKelli. But for a link on everywhere you can find us, head on over to TheReasonsImBroke.com. We've got a Facebook, we've got a Pinterest, a Tumblr, all of that. You can find us on there.
But that will wrap it up for our show this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this and every single week. And if it's your first episode, thank you for listening to us.
Don't forget to leave us a review on Stitcher, on iTunes. That is where you can definitely find new listeners showing up on the show. So iTunes is the big one. If you can leave us a review on iTunes, that would definitely help us out. Takes 2 minutes and it really goes a long way. We currently have 23 reviews on iTunes and we definitely want to get that number up and go up a little bit higher on the Batman chart, on the Pokemon chart, on the podcast for games and hobbies chart. So that would be a huge help to Kelli and I. So thank you so much for tuning in and for listening. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelli.
We'll see you next week.